Welcome to the play ratings as Lou and I discuss the very, very important and very good 2-2 draw versus Man City. Lou, before we actually get started on the ratings, any extra thoughts on the match versus City?
I watched the extended highlights, and there was a few players who I thought, like when I at first watched, I didn't think had a great game, but then I think Chalobah was much better than at first watch. Also, I think Eze, he's not at his top level, and the combinations are getting much better with the front three. So yeah, still thoroughly enjoyed watching it over again.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I watched it back again. So let's just jump into it. Let's start with Dean Henderson. You gave him a 7. I gave him a 7 also. For me, he had 2 very important saves. The one on Haaland obviously hit me in the face in the first half, and then later on in the game, he had a great save about 75 minutes on Savinho. Distribution decent, 19 to 34 on passing, but only 5 or 20 on long balls. My only issue with him, honestly, would be the goal. Now, so let's talk about that a little bit. I think, I don't know if you know my background. I used to coach goalkeepers for like 10 years. I wasn't a goalkeeper, but I actually coached at a pretty high level. And I've always taught the goalkeepers, it's a basic thing. If you're going to come for a cross, you got to get it. And I thought on that ball, he was non-committal. I think that's one of his flaws, is that he's on crosses, he's not great. He's been better this year, but I thought if he's going to come for that ball, he has to get it. So he kind of leaves Guehi out to dry. What are your thoughts on Henderson yesterday?
Yeah, I thought he was really good. That the first save from Haaland is brave, makes himself big, and obviously he's got his reward for being brave. He's took one in the face, but you take that all day long. Kicking was good again. Not like impressive like how some other goalkeepers are with their feet, but from where he's been to where he is now, it's much better. With the goal, it's very hesitant. It's either you come and you take everyone out, you take Guehi out, you take Haaland out. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. It was a windy day. I think it could have easily been misjudged.
Great point.
The ball he's whipped it in, but even when he's whipped, he's not like he's whipped it in with like real pace. It's like gathered pace in the air, and he's just misjudged it. I don't know what you think. If he stays on his line, do you think he saves it, or do you think it's just a quality header into the corner?
You know what? It was a good header. I think if he stays, he's got a better chance of saving it. But you're right. It isn't basically the top right-hand corner. He probably scores it anyway. I think he's got a better chance he doesn't come for it. But again, I don't want to overly criticize. I just think that's the only thing yesterday I kind of had it down. He had no chance on the second goal, obviously. But I thought on that goal, if he's going to come, get it. But again, that is what it is. Let's move on to Danny Munoz. I gave him an 8. You gave him a 7 point. Oh, you gave him an 8 also. So
yeah, I gave him an 8 as well.
What's your thoughts on Munoz? Go ahead.
Like I said in a live reaction, to get a chance like that in the first 5 minutes and to put it away is really tough. He's obviously got confidence from that first goal he scored last Saturday against Newcastle. I thought he'd done a great job on Lewis. It was tough because Nunes is a quality player. He kept cutting in on his right, but Munoz was quality all game, and he's been one of our best players this season. And I've said he needs to improve his quality in the final third. I said he's been letting us down with the quality sometimes, and today he's not proved me wrong, but he's delivered again. I thought his pressing was really good, and I feel like he's building a relationship with Sarr now a bit more.
Yeah, I thought he did really well yesterday. Again, as you said, gave him an 8. Really well taken goal. Really nice ball by Hughes. I'll get to that pass by Hughes in a bit because I have a question about it. But no, again, dealt with the threat. Again, we spoke this really quickly pre-show. Towards the end, Lewis started to invert, which made it difficult for Munoz to pick him up. But prior to that, he did really well, and he did really well against Nunez. So, again, I got no complaints about Munoz. Let's move on to Tyrick Mitchell. You gave him a 8.5. I gave him a 7.5. So, then Say again?
I gave him 7.5.
You're right. Guehi 8.5. You're right. Mitchell 7.5. I gave him exactly the same thing. I thought did really well. Definitely getting better attacking, which is what we're trying to see. A little better on a crossing. 3 out of 4 tackles, 5 out of 8 duels won. And again, Savinho really only had the shot that I mentioned before on Henderson to make a save, and I thought he kept him in check the whole game. What are your thoughts on Mitchell?
Yeah, I thought it was really good again. There's when Mitchell's attacking, what we get frustrated by sometimes is his immediate action is going backwards or sideways. Sometimes if he goes forward and then plays backwards or sideways, at least we've got up the pitch 10 yards. And I think that's what he's improved. He's not getting it out of his feet and sprinting down the line and doing 2 step overs and beating his man, but he's getting us up the pitch. So if he can carry the ball up 10, 15 yards and then play a good pass inside to Eze, it makes a big difference. His crossing's still a bit poor. He needs to work on that. But if you watch back for our first goal, it's his pressing on Gundogan that wins the ball back initially, where the ball falls to Hughes and he plays it into Sarr, and eventually we get the goal. So his intensity was really good yesterday. And yeah, I'm really happy with him at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. My preference for him on crosses is try and whip him in a little bit lower, but again, he's definitely getting better at that, and again that'll come with time. Let's move on to the second goal scorer, Maxence Lacroix. You gave him an 8.5. I gave him exactly the same thing. Why don't you go first on how you thought about how Lacroix played yesterday?
Well, I feel like he dealt with Haaland. I feel like that he kind of thrives on that type of player. It was like the lap was like the starter, and Haaland was like the main course. It was like a little taster of what was going to happen. Obviously, Haaland scored, but it wasn't on Lacroix. I thought he was commanding. His pace is just helps us so much. I love the way he steps in and he's aggressive. And obviously, the threat from corners now is completely different. I think last season we were quite a small team, especially with Anderson. I think Anderson's probably only about 6 foot. Guehi's not the tallest. Even Pep mentioned it, like how dangerous we were on our set pieces, defending and attacking. And what a header, what a celebration. And they got a really cohesive back line, and I think like he's at the heart of it at the moment.
Yeah, I mentioned in the last play ratings, he's probably the best centre half as far as one-on-one defending I've seen at Palace, and I've watched Palace since I was, honestly, over 50 years. He's just excellent. Really like the way he played yesterday, commanding. That goal was always coming. I love the fact I watched a post-match interview, and he predicted that he was going to score. He told the Palace TV guy, "Come see me tomorrow. I'm gonna score a goal," which is great. And it's been coming. Very, very good defensively again. I like the fact you're right. The Haaland, the lap challenge he takes on every time. I mean, I watched yesterday. He was mostly on Haaland. Obviously, they switched off a little bit a couple of times because you mentioned yesterday, Haaland's movement is ridiculous. So he would go on Guehi every once in a while, obviously for the height advantage, but then the quad would pick him up. Very good. 4-headed clearances, 45 touches, 6 out of 8 accurate long balls. Again, celebration was brilliant. I'll mention it now because I'm going to mention it later on. Do you notice how every time a player scores that Mateta mimics the celebration?
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. I love that. That was great. Because, I mean, that guy, I'm going to get to him later on. He's ridiculous, but that was funny.
Because obviously we sold 10 players. Was it 10 players left this season? Yeah. And I think we had quite a good team spirit, team morale. And where there's been so many ins and outs, I think it's taken a while for this group of players to gel. But it looks like Lacroix is one of the main figures in that dressing room. Even in the little clip where he picked up the Player of the Month again, he said, "Yes, I've been good, but I want to shout out Justin Devenny." It just shows that he's a leader in that team, and you could see when he scored how happy the other players were for him, and he's got his rewards because we've had a few corners like we've spoken about it where we've threatened to score, and it's always glanced off his head or gone over the bar. So, he was due that one.
No, it's a great point. I mean, team chemistry, again, you've played. You know how important that is, and you're right. He's slotted right in, become a leader right away. You mentioned during the last game when Richards came on, first want to give him a talk to him, give him a quick little pep talk with Lacroix. And you're right. You can already see every time. Look at Guehi's face yesterday when Lacroix scored. You can just tell he fit right in. And again, he's definitely future Palace captain. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about lack of leadership on his team. We don't have that lack because again, players like Lacroix have come right in and step right up. So that's been great. Let's go to Marc Guehi. You gave him a 8.5. Get that one right? Yes, I actually gave him a 7. So why don't you go first on that one as far as Guehi? Because that's a great score you gave him.
Do you know what? I'm maybe I'm a bit biased. I love Marc Guehi. One thing I love about players, like certain players, is consistency. I like a player who every game you know what you're gonna get. And Marc Guehi, you know that they always say a manager would prefer a player to turn up and give a 7 out of 10 every week than a 5, than a 9. I feel like he gives you an 8 out of 10 every single week. They had all that controversy around his armband stuff this week. Didn't let it phase him.
Yeah.
I don't think he could have done much more for the goal. Maybe he could have put Haaland off a bit more, but Haaland's world class. Like that's what he does. And I also mentioned that block in the second half. Henderson tipped it away, but he took the edge off. I think Savinho had a shot that was going in the bottom corner, and he's taken the edge off the shot, which made it much easier for Henderson. Listen, I feel like he gives 8.5, 8 every single week, and I don't want it to go under the radar, so I'm gonna stick with my 8.5 for Guehi.
No, that's fair. Listen, 80% passing, 3 recoveries. Again, that block, 47 touches, which actually was the second least of the back 3. Actually, I'm going to get to him later, but Chalobah actually had the most touches. Remember the game before, we talked about how they passed the ball around the back against Ipswich, and then how Guehi had so many touches. In this case, it was actually he had the second most. But no, sorry, again, I'm with you, man. I love Marc Guehi. He's not a tall centre half, and to be on Haaland is going to be tough. Like I said, my only slight critique is that I wish he had jumped, but again, the flight of that ball. You mentioned before the wind is a factor. I didn't think about that. The wind would have put him off, but like I said, you're right. Every time he plays, he's a 7. He's an 8 every single time. So great performance yesterday by. Go ahead. Do
you feel like I feel like he's getting in a lot more advanced positions at the moment as well? I don't know whether you've got a heat map or anything, but I've seen he done another one of those deep crosses to the back post. Nothing really came of it, but he's getting in those positions, and I feel like him pushing up further is helping Mitchell go a bit further. And you're seeing those little combinations are coming in. You got the little Guehi, Eze, Mitchell, the Munoz, Sarr, Hughes. Like that's what our game thrives on. Like we said, we haven't got the best dribblers and ball carriers at the moment, so our passing combinations have to be better. And I feel like that little connection on the left hand side is looking much better.
That's a great point. We don't need as much on the right side. Munoz bombs up high, so Chalobah doesn't have to do it. But you're right. Starting with really Newcastle, obviously, when we were losing, he was pushing up. He put the cross in for the goal. You're absolutely right. And it has helped Mitchell because having someone to either underlap him or overlap him and give him another option besides just Eze has been important. So you're right. That's a great point. He has getting a lot further forward and does a great job. I mean, I remember there was one play yesterday when he helped Mitchell on the press and he took the ball off of I think who the right
Walker right up the top.
Exactly. Exactly right. So no, you're right. It's been a key factor. Let's move on now to Trevor Chalobah. You gave him a 7.5 and I gave him a 7. I'll start first. I thought on rewatch, I know there were some comments made during the not during the show, but like in our comment section during the post-match reaction. And by the way, if you haven't checked it out yesterday, check that out. It was actually kind of interesting about Chalobah not playing well and having Richards replacing. Now, I'll first start by saying I'm a big Chris Richards fan. Living in America, I've seen him play for the US. I thought he done a solid job for Palace. But right now, I would not change Chalobah for a few reasons. One, just based on yesterday, 90% passing on the game, 58 touches, 6 out of 9 duels won, 3 out of 3 tackles won, 5 clearances, 5 recoveries, 7 out of 8 long balls. The stats are just there. But then the eye test shows you he played really well, got Lewis sent off. I thought he played a solid game. It wasn't spectacular, but he's growing into it. And I just like the fact that we've had that solid back 3 now for, probably 7, 8 games now in a row. I think the more they play together, we just talked about how great Lacroix has been, how great Guehi is. I think that the quality of Guehi and Lacroix is having people think that Chalobah's not playing well, but I think they're wrong. I think he's doing really fine. But what are your thoughts on Chalobah?
Yeah, I've been a little bit critical of him recently. I said he's not impacting the game enough. Defensively, he's looked okay, and then going forward, he's looked okay. I feel like today he responded. He upped his game. I had a note on I think it was start of the second half. City had a lot of possession. We couldn't really get near him, and then there's a point where he's the first one. He steps in, he wins the ball. We break. Sarr gets in between Lewis and Vardio, and he cuts back. Ebbs was poor again on that. He should really take a touch and hit it first time. He ends up swiveling on his left foot, but that all came from Chalobah's pressing, and that ignited us again. City had all the possession, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we can still do this. So that was him taking. He was like I said, we had to be brave, and I feel like we hadn't been being brave in previous games, and him pressing in the middle of the park, that was really good. I didn't think personally it was a yellow card, but Chalobah done well to get him sent off, and you've got to do what you've got to do. I probably would have done the same in that position. If someone's dived in on me on a yellow card, I'm going down and I'm going to roll about a bit as well.
Yeah.
And everyone complains about we don't have the dark arts. We're not a nasty team to play against. Well, we got to do those things. So I'm really happy with Chalobah, and it's only going to grow in confidence for the upcoming games.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, good match by him. Let's go on to Jefferson Lerma. You gave him a 9.5.
No. You're 8. You're looking at the one it's after the dash.
Sorry, I'm going to say, okay. You gave him an 8, which I gave him an 8. So I was wondering, I'm going to say to you, it would have been fine. I mean, I thought he played well, but gave him an 8. I gave him an 8 also. Very solid first half. Was fouled 3 times. Over the course of the match, 85% passing, 5 recoveries. First, a lot of the second balls I noticed. A lot of the second balls that were coming down. He was the first one to the ball. Played well. He was very involved in that one. There was that really nice move I mentioned yesterday. The Sarr Mateta ball where Mateta laid it off to him when his shot was blocked. He was, getting in the box. I thought it was a very solid game. You know what? He's underrated for me. I don't appreciate him as much because I'm a massive Wharton and Doucouré fan, but I have to give him credit. The last 2 matches, you mentioned it against Ipswich, came on second half, changed the game for us. But yesterday, I thought he and Hughes played really well together. What are your thoughts again on Jefferson Lerma?
Lerma, I think a lot of us appreciate how good he is off the ball and his energy and his pressing. And but I feel like yesterday his quality on his passing was good. I noted down there was a little bit in the first half where Eze's laid it off to him, and he's made a line breaking pass to Hughes, and Hughes has slipped in Eze, and he dilly-dallied, but he was offside in the end. But it's the intent to offside one. It's the intent to play forward. It's the hunting impacts. I think Doucouré is a better player, but Glasner got it spot on to start Lerma yesterday because we needed energy in there. And you're going against Gundogan, Bernardo, Rico Lewis, inverting. They aren't very quick players. So putting Lerma in there who can get around the pitch is what we needed. I thought it was a great performance. Obviously, his partner outshone him a little bit, so he might have gone under the radar. But brilliant performance, and it will be hard to drop that midfield 2 for Brighton. But this is what happens when you have competition for places. Players up their game. Lerma and Hughes played like they know Wharton and Doucouré are ready to play, and it's just that's what happens. But great performance from Lerma.
Just want to say again, my biggest fault with Lerma is his passing. Whenever I watch him play, that's my biggest thing. And yesterday he upped the game big time. And again, energy levels are great. But like you just said, I'm not concerned about people having this debate about Hughes playing. We'll get to him in a minute. He was brilliant yesterday. And Lerma, I do not care because you're absolutely right. If they push Wharton and Doucouré, who I know are better players, but they don't play because they're playing better, it makes us a better team. So I'm not worried about that. Because again, the way football works is that you play on merit. With 95% of coaches that you play under. So if they're playing better, they will play. But once their levels drop off, we know we have 2 very capable backups, which is ridiculous. So go ahead.
Well, one of the good things as well, because we play with such high pressing, obviously you can see the players, they wear the heart monitors. They're going to see when certain players are hitting that red zone. So if you play Lerma and Hughes and you say you run for 50 minutes, 60 minutes until you cannot run anymore, and then you start bringing on Wharton and Decore, that's what we need, and that's what we've been craving for a long time, is having 4 quality centre midfielders all fit and ready.
100%. Speaking of quality midfielders, let's go on to Will Hughes. Wow, what performance yesterday. You gave him a 9.5. I gave him a 9.5. You go first, man. How great was Hughes?
Wow, that performance. Even I thought it was so good at first watch, and then I watched Match of the Day, and then I watched the extended highlights, and I was like, this guy played like a man possessed. The worst thing is, my favorite bit wasn't the pass. It was the one where he cut out the passing lane from De Bruyne, won the ball, then ran past De Bruyne, dribbled past him and got his shot off. And then he done the exact same action in the second half, cut out a pass, dribbled through, got his shot off, won the corner, then delivered the corner for Lacroix to score. And the composure for the first goal was the pass, but it wasn't just that pass. It was the first pass to Sarr. He didn't even look. Reverse pass into the front man, into his feet, playing forward. He was just on another level yesterday. Like literally, like I said, Glasner is a great manager. He's turned a squad player into, I don't even know where that performance came from. That was just ridiculous.
Yeah. I want to just clarify. I know I'll probably get some comments. I'm not advocating not resigning Hughes. I mean, with Tim and I, and you had that conversation yesterday. It's just, I just think that it just might block someone. But I want to focus on this season. I'm not worried about next year. Yesterday, he's been all season just so good. I definitely think that having Decore back in the squad and having Wharton has pushed him. But even last year, Wharton and Hughes yesterday last season were a brilliant combination. But yesterday, 2 assists, got about the pitch so well. Like you just said, wouldn't really give De Bruyne a lot of space to do things he normally does. Leadership just strong through the whole time. The first ball to Munoz. Now, the funny thing is that ball was actually, I think he would make that ball for Mateta. But Mateta was clearly offside. And then he runs on to Munoz. Either way, it's a great ball, great vision. I spoke to you a couple of shows ago about that whole being able to scan the field. He's a lot like Wharton in that way. Yeah. Hughes knows what he's going to do with the ball before he gets the ball, which is a lot of players don't do that. Which is why when he was younger at Derby, why he was so highly regarded, because you can just tell his vision was very, very good. Yeah. The ball, the delivery for the goal to Lacroix was brilliant. I just think yesterday he just played so well. I just think that, as long as he's our midfield, we're going to be fine, because again, he's done really well. But again, performance yesterday was absolutely fantastic. Great job by Will Hughes.
Honestly, it's setting a standard as well. If Hughes is playing like that, nobody else has an excuse. And he not only does he knows what he's going to do before the ball, but you see him giving the instructions to other people. He calms the play down. In the Premier League, you need to be able to receive the ball with your back to goal. That's an essential for a centre midfielder. If you cannot receive the ball off the back 4 and be relaxed, you're going to put yourself in trouble every time. And he looks so good. I'd go far as to say that is the best individual performance this season from a player.
High praise, man of the match performance for sure.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Ismaila Sarr. Get this right. You gave him a 6.5. I gave him a 6. Basically, I thought he worked really hard off the ball. I think that was important yesterday, because the way that City play, obviously having the ball, we didn't have the ball as much. He worked really hard. Helped us have that. He was a threat. As you mentioned before, he was part of that setup for that first goal with Hughes winning the ball back there. He set up a good early chance there for Eze, but Eze unfortunately took a weak shot. But again, it's coming for him. Again, he's not going to replace Elise in the way that he plays, but he brings other attributes to the game, including being able to get behind. So I think that, wasn't a spectacular game by Sarr, but I thought he played well. What are your thoughts on Sarr yesterday?
I've been an advocate for Sarr in the sense when we're getting him facing the opposition goal. I really don't like him when he's receiving the ball back to goal. Even that ball for the Munoz goal, Hughes has fired it into him, but he's lucky because he gave the ball away and it ricocheted back to Hughes.
Yeah.
And that's what that's where his game lacks. When he's holding up the play and he's trying to lay it off, he's not that great. But when he's pressing and he's driving forward, he is a threat. That pace it will trouble any team. His composure when he's finishing is not great. It was a bit like the Wolves game where he's received the ball on the edge of the box, no one's around him, and he's absolutely ballooned it in the sky. But that threat of it happened in the second half as well. We spoke about the chance where he cut it back for Ebbs and he ended up shooting on his left foot, weak shot. It was a similar play to in the first half where Mateta laid it off to Lerma. But we need to get him down the line, cutting it back. That's where we need to get him in those positions. But yeah, 6.5. He could have been a 6. Maybe if he'd have got a few more shots on goal, he could have got a 7. But yeah, overall, I'm happy with his performance.
Yeah, me too. Go on to Ebbs. I gave him a 6. I believe you also gave him a 6. So why don't you go first on Eze?
Eze, I love the kid. He's the type of player you pay to watch, but his decision making just isn't there at the moment. There was a bit in the first half where he got the ball, he slowed it down, and he tried to play the hardest ball to Munoz, and he ended up just kicking it off the pitch. And I think those type of moments set the tone for his performance.
Right.
Where he could have just laid it off, played it simple, gone and got it again, not getting his shots off. But there's glimpses. There was a time where he received the ball with his back, turned and looped it over. He scooped it over 2 Man City defenders into Mitchell's path. And those are the moments where you're like, this guy is different level. I'm going to stick with him. I'm not going to put him down. But again, it was a bit of a disappointing performance. I'm also happy that Glasner took him off to shore up the midfield. But yeah, a 6. But yeah, not a great performance.
Yeah, I agree. He had a couple of shots. He tried to combine with, we've noted before, the Mateta and Sarr. Overall, not one of his best performances. But again, it's coming out. I'm willing to give him, obviously, the time to get back because, again, he's a threat. And the reason why, you can't bench him and you have to start him because he can pull out those moments that other players can't pull out. I mean, you got up performances by players like Hughes and Lerma, and even Sarr to a degree, but you have to have Ebbs on the other side because he provides that moment, that good thing, so that can just turn a match like he's against Ipswich. First 20 minutes had a nice ball into Mateta that could have led to more. Crossing wasn't great. My only real issue with him yesterday are the corner kicks. I think he's got to be better because we mentioned before about the threats we have in Lacroix and Chalobah, Mateta to some degree. Lerma can get up for a cross. Obviously, Munoz can. Because I'm finding that if you look at the crossing as far as corner kicks, Hughes are much better than Ebbs has been, and I think he has to get better on that. But that aside, again, it wasn't a spectacular performance. But again, we have to stick with him. I think we'll see as the season goes on how many games he'll win for us. So there's that. The last of the starts we'll get to is Jean-Philippe Mateta. You gave him a 6.5. I gave him a 7. So I'll go first. I thought his hold-up play, link-up play was very good in the first half, particularly. 7 for 7 passing in that first half. Created a chance, that chance I mentioned before for Lerma when he laid it off to him. Again, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that huge pass to Munoz. He could have touched it because he was heading towards him. He let it go. I think that's an underrated thing because if he touches that ball, he's off about a foot, 2 feet offside, and obviously the play breaks down. I want to give him credit for that. But overall, I thought he was unselfish. All game, worked hard, won 3 out of 4 ground duels. And again, I think it was a really good performance by Mateta against a very, playing against Diaz, just difficult matchup for him. But what are your thoughts on JP yesterday?
I feel like it was a proper lone striker performance, occupied both centre halves. I feel like he's starting to become a striker that defenders don't want to play against. He rough and tumble. He disrupts play. I think his hold-up play has improved so much. I'm a big fan of having a big team. You see Arsenal, they're all 6 foot plus, and it's nice to have that presence in both boxes. I think he's really good at defending our own set pieces.
100%
underrated. He clears a lot of corners for us.
Yep.
I was a bit upset he laid it off to Lerma because I feel like that's his bread and butter finish, the one where he hasn't got to think about it too much. But yeah, like it was unselfish. Love the fact he copies the celebrations. I think he's another one like Lacroix. He's massive in the dressing room, and I really want him to get a new deal. I feel like he's earned it.
I'd be for that big time. Let's see how what the management does. But I agree with that. Let's move on to the subs. Justin Devenny, you gave him a 6, I gave him a 5. But why don't you go first in Devenny? And I want to talk about how I love the way you guys are using him. But go ahead, you go first.
Do you know what? I gave him a 6, but I feel like maybe it was a 5.5 performance more. Do you know? Normally his set pieces are good. I feel like they was slacking a bit. But I love the fact he's not phased. He's coming on against the champions. And people, I think, underestimate when you come off for the star player, it's always harder. So he's 100%. Always coming on. He's coming off for Eze. You're coming off this is the game winners coming off, and you're coming on. So there's always an added pressure. Also, you're only 21. You've just started, just come up to the first team. So there's so much pressure, and he just doesn't look out of place. He brings an energy. He needs to work on just maybe relaxing a little bit because I feel like he's got so much energy. But in the Premier League, you need to have that relaxation when you're on the ball. You need to be able to bring it down, play other people in. But wasn't bad, wasn't great, wasn't that much time to affect it. It was hot. It was a tough time to come on. We were under the cosh. But yeah, listen, that Eze for Devenny substitution, I feel comfortable every time it happens.
Yeah, and I want to give credit to Glasner. One of my biggest pet peeves in the past of Palace managers is that we just don't use the youth players. And it's not football manager, I get that. But you can bring on a player for 10, 15 minutes a match and they can develop. And I think that's what happened with Devenny. And you can show him your trust that you have. And I love the way that the Glasner are putting him on. You're absolutely right. I didn't think about that. The star factor, he's coming on for our best player. And he's not looking out of place. He's not making mistakes. He's not getting booed by the fans. He's not. The situation's not too big for him. I think he's done really well. Corners can be a little bit better, but I think his passing. He only had 4 passes, 3 out of 4. His passing's always accurate. He lays off the ball, doesn't dilly dally on the ball, and he did set up. He did have a shot for the at the end of the game, 90 plus like 3 minutes. The corner kick we got at the end was because he helped set it up. Yeah. Either he took the shot or Mitchell had the shot was deflected. But either way, as a chance, we could have scored the winning goal back there. So I love what the Glazers doing. And I don't know. And I noticed yesterday, I watched a fan cam. And at the end of the match, when everyone was off the pitch, Glasner spent about 3 minutes talking to Devenny.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
You saw that, right? Just talking to him. So that just shows you that, it's not like, okay, he took time on the pitch to talk about something that might have gone on during the match. I love that. I love the management style of Glasner. Just talk to him. So I thought that was really good. So again, not spectacular, but I just love the fact that he's easing his way, easing him into the matches, and I love that. So to get to Eddie Nketiah, I gave him a 4, he gave him a 1. I'll just get into what I did. Listen, we need him to come good. We just do. And I don't think that these last 5-minute or 12-minute cameos are going to help him, but he's coming off of an injury. But unfortunately, yesterday, he had a couple of times when he burst forward, and one time he lost the ball, one time he just didn't do anything with it. He had got a yellow card, which I actually like the yellow card he got on Grealish, but that's probably by game of 4 when he found Grealish in a yellow card. But he just has to do a little bit more. You can sense that he wants to do more, but it's not there. But let me tell you, just what are your thoughts on Nketiah?
Well, when he came on, what set the tone for his one performance, the first thing he did was be offside straight away, where he did not need to be offside. Second time he done it. Second time he got the ball, lost it. Then again, breakaway, 2 heavy touches, lost the ball. Then the yellow card. I'm not gonna come on and bash him and say he's rubbish. We've wasted money. I'm not gonna do that. I feel like he needs to come on for Mateta and play up top. If he's going to play the last 15, 20 minutes, play him up top. Don't bring him on in those 10 roles. He's not suited for it. Then again, Glasner is a manager. I'm not a qualified Premier League manager. He's obviously making a decision for a particular reason, but it just doesn't look good. He doesn't look great. His confidence looks shot. Maybe dreaming. Maybe he turns up against Arsenal and does something against his former club, and that propels his Palace career. But we need to stick behind him. We got our squad. We got our squad back. I think it's important Palace fans get behind everyone and don't single players out, especially after drawing 2-2 against City. The last thing we need to do is just start getting onto players.
Right. Last, let's get to the manager. You gave him a 10. I gave him a 9. You go first. Your thoughts on Glasner yesterday?
Perfect game plan. Again, getting the most out of all the players. I said a good manager gets 100% out of every player. Good substitutions. Maybe Nketiah. Maybe I could have gone Kamada in the 10. Maybe made a few more subs earlier to freshen it up. I think we were 1 defeat in 8 games now. We're scoring goals again. I just got no complaints. I love the guy. I love his post. That's why I gave him a 10, because in his post-match press conference, he said he wasn't happy with the draw.
Yes.
He says we should have won, and he explains that our lack of quality in transitions was what let us down, not taking our chances, and also not keeping the ball well enough. So he's not coming out and being like, oh my God, we got a draw against the champions. He's coming out and explaining where we're not going, the little finer things that are not getting us over the line. And he's obviously demands more and more. So that's why I gave him a 10, because I love the attitude.
Yeah, the attitude's great. I'm so tired of the defeatist attitude of, it's a free hit. I always used to hate that stupid phrase. And a lot of our managers would just say active as if we can't beat a Man City or an Arsenal, and you can. And his attitude's great. Tactically, again, set us up perfectly. I love the lineup. We talked about how well Lerma and Hughes were in the midfield. The handful was to have the energy, and it played out that way. I like the subs again. Maybe Nketiah. But again, Kamada after the red card, how is the crowd going to react? I'm kind of glad he didn't do that. Again, kind of saving him from that. But who knows? Maybe they're within a bit of positive reception. Again, I mentioned before about how he uses Devenny, a young kid, giving him that confidence, and hopefully that'll come with a couple other youngsters going forward. But again, just love what he did yesterday, man. And again, I watched the post-match again. He just doesn't accept defeat. He thinks he can go out and win every game. And, it's a bold statement to make as a critical supporter of 50-plus years to have a manager who actually believes in the team. But he does. Again, I'm so glad. Well, not that I thought the ball to get rid of him. I'm so glad he stuck with him. Now we just got back him in that January window. You mentioned before, we're getting our players back, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. I was anyway, but I just love this manager. So let's see what goes on.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's it for the play ratings for Palace versus Man City, the 2-2 draw. Please remember to check out the match reaction that Lou and I did for the Man City game. There will be a preview for the very important game next Sunday versus Brighton. So look out for that and other content. But again, Lou, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
No problem, man.
From me, Patrick, take care and up the Palace.